Back in the 40s, crime was simple. Criminals had a want, detectives a need. Make a problem, fix a problem. And between criminals and detectives, there was always a respect for the other face in the game. Crime isn't simple anymore. There's no more respect. It's personal. And this time the bad guys hit a man right where it hurts. Right in his Newtons. It had been at least a month now since they hit my desktop supply. Mixed berries were the first. Then it was strawberry. But when they lifted my original figs from my Newton box that morning, I knew someone had to put an end to the madness. What these thieves didn't know was that they'd messed with the wrong guy. This guy, Stanley Koss, Prep Time Private Eye. I had been the resident detective / teacher at little old Casey Josephine for about 10 years now. But I didn't know what I was fixing to get into until Assistant Principal Biscotti stepped into my office.
Koss, I got something for you.
Not the time, boss. My cookies just got tossed, and I'm scrambling to get them repackaged.
Cafeteria workers are complaining, missing utensils and ingredients.
So, lunch lady's missing a spatula. It's not my burger to flip.
There's cookie dough everywhere.
Cookies? Normally, I wouldn't have been too jazzed about a few food maids missing some chicken nuggets. But I had a hunch. Maybe this cafeteria business was connected to my missing Newtons. Figured it was worth a quick look. I strolled in that afternoon, finding nothing out of place. Blenders, mixers, pots and pans, all clean. Was beginning to think this cafeteria crew had their hairnets on a bit too tight. The only dirty thing in that place was the thought of not catching my Newton thief. That thought sat heavy in my gut, my Newtonless gut, until I spotted it. A lone cinnamon raisin. May not have been a Newton, but it certainly looked like my very first lead.
Found him in the freezer. Must have locked himself in. Caught him red-handed, all floured up, holding a bag of my Newtons. Or should I say, cold-handed? Once he thaws out, I'm sure he's got plenty of explaining to do.
Good work, Koss. I think we found our perpetrator. I'm sure he can use a few more detentions.
What are you running from, kid? Your cookies are already baked.
Detention. Cookies. I can't bake it anymore.
All right, that's it. You come with me.
But not now, Stan. But
Something still stunk in the freezer. And I was beginning to think it was more than some hungry kid. My Newtons, they were still disappearing. And I was starting to feel like my Alice was getting caught in a giant rabbit hole. Thought it was about time to drop in on my guy, the one who always had an ear for what was going on in the school hallways. There was one guy in the joint who always had the skinny on everyone. It was a Bruzy.
A little birdie tells me there's a new game in town. Guy goes by the name of Sugar Man.
Man had better ears than a bat with hearing aids. Was always keen to details. Everyone else was ignoring.
This guy's so sharp he drinks a 5-hour energy drink in 4.5 hours.
Told me this new Sugar Man was a ghost. No one had ever seen his face. But that didn't mean he hadn't left a paper trail.
Hey, one of my guys found this, though. But this is the same guy that said when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Menus. A whole bunch of them turning up. I thanked the Bruzy for his tip and went back to business.
Mr. Koss!
Good afternoon, Mr. Keurig, principal of Casey Josephine.
A good afternoon it is not, Mr. Koss. We have a problem. A big problem. A massive problem. A not fabulous problem. You see this sign?
I'm not sure telling kids they suck is the best idea, Mr. Keurig.
It's supposed to say succeed. Someone has stolen my landscape printing paper. My signs won't print. This is disastrous.
Why don't you just tape two pieces of paper together and make a real sign?
I'm not so sure that's a good idea, Mr. Koss. You're the school's detective, Koss. Find the paper. Your job depends on it.
Figured with this boss losing his feathers so quick about his signs, the first place to start was the old tree killer, the copy machine. Seemed like a logical place to start to find his landscape paper. I passed Gerber on my way in. He was looking a tad pale. I told myself that if I had a million kids like he did, I'd be looking a tad pale myself. And then I got to investigating. Landscape paper. And by the looks of it, menu printing paper. I took a closer look. Another sheet, blue, handwritten copy. I knew if I found the owner of this, I'd find the Sugar Man, but it was gonna have to wait. When the bell rings at Casey Josephine, my Cinderella detective story gets put on pause, and Detective Toss turns back into regular old teacher Koss.
All right, class, today we're going to continue reading the great William S. Shakespeare. What's that, Mr. Koss? He has a middle name? Well, yes he does. You don't know him as well as I do. All right, open your books up to Act 3, Scene 2, and we'll continue with Romeo and... Wake up, Tom. Now, you gotta lay off those video games, Thomas.
I had detention.
Detention? For how long? Who gave you detention? Class, open to page 48. We're going to begin a discussion on Act 2, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet.
And just like that, the cookie began to crumble. All the detentions from floured hands traced back to one guy, Albert Jebra. You know what you get when you add 2 and 2 together, Jebra?
4?
Something dirty. And it smells like you.
Excuse me, Mr. Koss, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Detentions. Breathing too heavily. Saying sorry too many times. Sneezing in class.
I really don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. I bet you know nothing about the boss's printing paper either, huh?
It was in my mailbox. It's not even mine. I swear.
Sure. If that's what you say. Isn't that an awful large lunchbox there, Jebra? Not too discreet now, is it? Mind if I have a look-see?
I can explain.
You don't have to explain anything. The jig is up. You've been using the cafeteria to make your food, huh? And stealing all the ingredients you needed at will.
But I...
Giving detentions to kids to work as forced labor in your little scheme.
I didn't have a choice.
We all have a choice, Al, and you chose a life of crime.
I didn't use kids. I just have so many kids.
Stop having kids.
I have to feed my kids.
Jebra did have a lot of kids, but they'd be eating their next meal in a foster home. Biscotti! Here's your criminal, your cookie criminal, Mr. Sugarman himself. Take him away.
I didn't do it.
You're a cookie
I
thief,
swear it was just
and what's
borrowing
worse,
food.
a
I
Newton
just have
thief. I got back to the office just after last period, and like standing behind a car muffler, I was exhausted. This case had taken a lot out of me. Landscape paper, cooking colleagues. Didn't have much energy for anything. Except maybe a celebratory Newton. My Newtons? Gone? Again? This time with no explanation? My thoughts spun wildly. Could I have been wrong? It wasn't possible. Was it? Then I saw the folder, and I remembered I'd overlooked one thing that tied the menu to the detentions. The handwriting. If it wasn't Jebra, who was it?
You just couldn't mind your own business, could you, Koss?
You're the Sugar Man?
Bob Sugar, Sugar Man, you're a real genius, Koss.
You framed Jebra.
Wasn't hard. After I found out he was using the kitchen, he was going to be the perfect fall guy for my cookie enterprise. Here. Have a free Newton.
You leverage those kids. They work for you. Those detentions were just a cover. You've been stealing and repackaging my Newtons.
They're called tune-ons. On this menu? Get it straight.
But why? Bob, why?
After my coffee business didn't work out, I figured this would be the perfect way to get back in the game. And back at those cafeteria wackos that ruined it for me. And now I'm profitable and unstoppable.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
Oh, trust me, you won't. You just pinned the crime on that math teacher that's just trying to feed his poor kids. Who's going to trust you now?
I'll go to Vice Principal Biscotti.
Go ahead. He's my best customer. Who do you think's been enforcing all my detentions? It's over, Cos. Your role as the Casey Josephine detective is baked. This is my new thing. I'm the cookie guy and no one can stop me.
Stop having kids.